mentioned at the very beginning of Mass today, we wrap up this 50-day Easter season that, of course, began on Easter Sunday. We wrap it up with this great celebration of Pentecost. And, of course, we recall in a very special way the Pentecost event, how the Holy Spirit was sent upon the apostles and how thereafter their lives radically changed, and the preaching of the good news began to emerge and radically began to renew the face of the earth, as it were. Now, there's a lot that we can focus on about this Pentecost event, but I'm just going to focus on one particular reality, and it's this. The fact that the reading says that the apostles spoke in tongues, that they proclaimed the message of the good news in tongues. What does this mean? Well, it's interesting if you listen to that first reading. It says that everyone who was there in Jerusalem, very diverse crowd, everyone heard them speaking in their own language. Okay. This means a lot more than a particular tongue or a particular language as we know it. This is not about French, Espanol, Italian, English, Hebrew, Aramaic, Greek. It's not about that. It's about what the reading is trying to really convey to us is that all of a sudden, the apostles found a way to meaningfully communicate, to meaningfully enter into the world, the values that each of those very different people embraced. They learned to speak their heart language. And that is very, very important. That's part of what the Holy Spirit tries to help us to do. If, I often use this analogy. We've got kids here in school. They all have to learn math, of course. But you can't teach algebra to a first grader that can only add and subtract. Because if you try to give him algebra, he won't even be able to add and subtract properly. You have to give people what they can handle. We have to learn to responsibly and creatively administer the truth. We have to responsibly and creatively give life. And when we do this, with God's help, of course, when we begin to master this, you know what? We begin to renew the relationships in our lives. When we try to force, or when we're out of sync with the values or what's at the heart of other people, we're not going to connect. We're not going to be effective communicators. We're not going to motivate anyone to do anything. When we can enter into this dynamic, we renew our relationships. We begin to renew the environments that we find ourselves in. And little by little, at least for a while, till the next challenge comes up, we really begin to renew or participate in the renewal of the face of the earth, which is ongoing and ever challenging. I remember many years ago, before I entered the seminary, and I was an athletic director at a local Catholic high school. We had a teacher, nice lady. She's long since passed. May she rest in peace. She was a nice lady, but oh my God, she had a real hard time connecting with the kids, especially the boys. She wanted the high school boys to behave as if they were in second grade. And she would walk into my office at least once a week and start giving me gripes about this kid or that kid, and she would say to me, Mr. Alvarez, you know, I want you to know that this athlete that's on the baseball team, Mr. So-and-so, he was making bird sounds in my class, and he thought that I didn't hear him, but I heard him, and I want you to know that. And she just kept going on. And I would say to her, let me ask you something. Where is he sitting? Oh, he sits all the way in the back. I said, that's your first mistake, dear. I said, you can't have that bird all the way in the back. You need that bird in the front row, right? And you need to have a hand on top of his head as you're teaching to engage him. No, but he's too tall. Then the other kids won't see. I said, well, pick your poison. You know, and it was a different kid every time she came in there. Eventually I told her, I said, look, you're a good lady, you know, and you're a good teacher, but you know, if you don't want to have these problems continue, here's what you need to do. During the period, you have to teach, of course, but talk to these kids before they get into class. When you see them in the hall, talk to them about the things that they're into. Talk to them about their games, about their sports. Talk to the girls about shopping, about their boyfriends, whatever. Enter into their world. And then you know what? Then the bird sounds and the cat sounds and whatever else is happening in the class, you're going to see that it's going to run its own course, because then they will do whatever you ask them to do. It didn't change much. I don't think she ever got there, but you know, you get the drift. And that's been my experience working with kids through the years. You know, quite often, couples, when I meet with them before their wedding, as I try to prep them for marriage as much as possible. Sometimes when couples come to me because, you know, they need to reignite the fire of love in their marriage, you know, I often tell them, I said, look, all of that's fine and dandy, I said, but you need to tap into whatever the passions of your spouse or your to-be spouse is, even if you can't stand those passions. You know, there are going to be, in every relationship, some passions that we share, some things that we're really excited about. But there are a whole bunch of others that we could care a lot less about. You know, and I've told many a husband, I said, listen, go shopping, you know, pretend it's Lent and go shopping with your wife, you know, for 15, 20 minutes, amuse her, pretend like you're interested, okay? Talk to her about the latest bargains or whatever her world is. So keep the credit card close to you, but, you know, but enter into that world. And I've said to many a wife, oh my gosh, listen, spend some time talking to this guy about chicken wings, about burgers, about whatever, fishing, you know, sports. Actually sit through part of a game, and you will notice that, you know, the life in the relationship will all of a sudden kick on to a different level. You know, with the healthiest relationships that we have, what you notice is that we enter, we partake, we enjoy, we celebrate each other's passions. And this is what God's Spirit helps us to do. This is really deep down what it means to speak in tongues. So as today, as we journey onward, as we thank the Lord for all the blessings that we have received throughout this Easter season, and as we journey onward into ordinary time, however ordinary it may seem to be, let us ask the Spirit to make us deeply aware of this need that we have to enter into the world of those which surround us, so that we may renew our lives, we may renew our relationships, we may renew our environments, and with the Spirit participate in the renewal of the face of the earth.